Hello everyone, welcome to this episode of Maritime Software. Today I'm really excited to be joined by David Levy, the Chief Marketing Officer of OrbitMI. We're going to have a good chat today and we're going to run through marketing's role within a SaaS company and I guess the sort of the really vital function it plays as businesses are scaling and going to market. So David, welcome to the show and I'd love it if you could just give us a quick overview of your background and who you are.
Thanks, Callum. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I have been in marketing for a long time, probably longer than you've been around. I started actually as a writer, working for magazines in the US, and then I shifted over to the opportunity to get involved in digital marketing back at the time when we barely knew how to spell that. And at that point in time, I said to myself, I don't know where this industry is going to go, this whole internet thing, but I'm going to spend the rest of my career doing it. And I certainly have followed that path, worked at startups. I worked at big companies and marketing agencies. I ran my own company for a number of years. And then a few years back, I want to say probably about 8 or 10 years ago, about that, I was working for a company and I met one of the advisors and we became really close friends. And he turned out to be Ali Riaz, who is the CEO of Orbit. And that's how we got together. He was not the CEO of Orbit at that time. We worked together on a number of different initiatives. And then when this opportunity came, he called me and asked me if I wanted to get involved. And that's how I got to where I am today. Kind of a quick review of my background.
Yeah, brilliant. I noticed actually in the Lloyd's List Intelligence, they've voted Ali and the team amongst the top 10 influential leaders and things.
Yeah, it's there's the larger top 100 list, and then there's the top 10 of different categories, class societies, insurers, and since 2022, Ali has been named in the top 10 of the technology leaders. So thank you for bringing that up. It's a really great honor for Ali and also for us as a company. We started we were incorporated in 2019, but we didn't really go to market until 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic. So to be on that list once was fantastic, twice was amazing, and 3 says, okay, maybe we've got something here, right? It's kind of a trend. And it's particularly gratifying because we're the only software company on that list. Everyone else is a hardware company primarily. So it's really terrific, and we're very, very happy to be on that list.
Yeah, no, really, really good. Many congratulations. There's obviously some pretty stiff competition out there nowadays in terms of suppliers and things in the maritime software space. So to be on there 3 years in a row is awesome. Yeah, and also just looking back through your background, I can see you mentioned you kind of founded your own companies in the past. So you've not just marketing, you've got that exposure to sort of the overall business operations and things. So it'd be really cool to hear your insights as we talk about marketing's functions in a wider sort of business network and things.
Sure.
Cool. So Chief Marketing Officer, what's your main role function at the moment? What does a day-to-day look like for you?
It's a good question, and the context is important here. Orbit was spun off from Stena Bulk in 2019. The original platform was actually called Stena Orbit and was launched in 2017. And Stena had the foresight to recognize that as a shipping company, ship owner, they were never going to be able to put the investment in or the time and energy to grow a software company or a software platform in-house. So that's why they spun it off to us. And the reason that's important, Callum, to the question you asked me, is that we're still a small company. Okay, we're still a startup. We're successful. We got revenue. We got customers. All of that, but we're still a small company. And most of our employees are engineers who are working on the product. So therefore, I, as the chief marketing officer and also as a co-founder, and I can say the following about many of my colleagues on the business side: we wear proverbial many hats.
Yeah.
So my main job, I would say, my main goal, in addition to the branding goals and things of that nature, building the brand and making sure people know who we are, and like you and the Lloyd's List, editors know who we are, and give Ali honors and things of that nature, is my job is to make sure that our sales team is as efficient as possible. And what does that mean? Well, it means brand is important to that, because I've got to break through the noise of the competition you mentioned. So we do things like branding campaigns and get involved in events and virtual and in person. So those things are important. So when our sales team encounters a prospect, they already know who Orbit is.
Yeah.
And then we create content, whether that's position papers about our offerings in LNG or in our Orbit Reporter product, or blogs and things like that. Other types of content which help explain who Orbit is and what we do. So it's the brand is about, oh, okay, I've heard of you, and then the content becomes, all right, what do you do? And then there's another set of things that we're doing around campaigns and customer outreach and enablement when it comes to pilots and customer onboarding. Is then we work with our colleagues in sales and customer success, so they have the tools they need to complete their job. So that goes from sort of sales presentations to recording demos to creating content in a knowledge base, such that our customer success team can be really productive in terms of bringing customers on and asking questions. So, and in the middle of that, or underneath all of that, we're managing our digital platform, our customer relationship management, so our CRM, managing campaigns and the website and web traffic and all of that stuff. So that's kind of the remit that I have right now.
Yeah.
And by the way, I have a very small team. There's only a couple of us besides myself, and they all have different hats as well. I work with a couple of different agencies to help me to help our team get our jobs done.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So I've really, over the years, I've really enjoyed recruiting in the marketing space. To be honest with you, we used to do a lot of recruitment for Shell back when I used to work for an agency, and we used to go into the Shell Centre in Waterloo, and it was really interesting learning about the different functions. So they had we used to hire kind of multi-channel product managers or project managers, for example. So you get to learn a bit about print and design and video and branding, as you mentioned. So there's so many different areas of marketing, which can suit different people. So you've got different types of characters. So for you to do that with a small team, it's pretty intense.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And in my career, I've done kind of it all, so to speak. I've worked at agencies, I've run agencies, I've worked and what we continue to do in terms of marketing communications, brand communications, investor outreach, analyst outreach. We're working with our agency called Blue Sea Communications out of Oslo that does our press. There's an agency in Connecticut called Cashman Katz, which helps build our brand and do creative. So, all of the things that a marketing department or function needs to do, we're doing with just a couple of us.
That's great. Good. Well, from what I see, I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
As I said, I've known the business for a number of years and met a couple of team members as well along the way. So it's great to have you on the show. For people perhaps that either maybe be familiar or may not be with OrbitMI, can you give an overview of the solution and kind of how you help your main customers?
Sure. And just I'll go back to what I said before about our heritage, because it's important to know where we started to understand where we are now. As I mentioned, we were spun off from Stena Bulk. The original platform was called Stena Orbit, and we took that on. And what the original platform was meant to do is help Stena's operation and chartering teams really capture data and manage their business more efficiently. So where could they cut time? Where could they get rid of data silos and bring it all into one single platform so they can make better decisions, so they can collaborate with their customers? I like to say that it's, in one way, it's like a Microsoft Office for maritime. It's a
Okay.
platform that has a number of different functions, whether that's for compliance, operations, chartering, maritime intelligence. There's a lot of great functionality inside of Orbit. But the other thing about what Orbit does is, because it was built initially to expand, so to speak, which is that, well, we know regulations are going to change. So we know we're going to need to adapt. And as more and more digital transformation kind of enters, so to speak, the industry, we may need to get different workflows and departments in our company involved. So this is kind of the original vision from Steno, which we took on. So the platform is meant to actually integrate with other systems and data feeds. So if you think of it as that platform with a number of solutions and then the ability to integrate, what Orbit does is we're able to go to our customers, Callum, and instead of saying, oh, all of your systems and technology stack, get rid of them. We don't say that. We say, you have made significant investments in whether it's your VMS or in-house systems or procurement systems. Like, we don't want to mess with that. We say Orbit can work with those systems, which sometimes are older, right? And sometimes we're not meant to address the rapidly changing regulatory environment that maritime is in. And so we can pull data and integrate into Orbit and create kind of this, what they call the single source of the truth. But it's really just an interface where people can log in, and everyone in the company has the confidence that the data is as accurate as it could possibly be, but they're using the same data. So it's not like the chartering team is using one system and the operations team is just getting something else, and the captains on board are dealing with the weather providers, and right. So everyone can use it for different workflows. And what we like to say, Callum, is we're trying to enable what we call intelligent connected workflows, which is just whoever you are in the organization, you can log in and we'll deliver information in the context of your day-to-day so you can make the decision you need at that moment in time versus, okay, I've got a piece here. Now I've got to go to a different window or a different screen and log in and out of that and cut and paste data into a spreadsheet, which I've built over the course of time. And then I got to make sure that data is entered accurately. And then, okay, by the time you make all of those calculations, whatever opportunity or decision you wanted to make maybe has slipped by you. So intelligent connected workflows is what Orbit ultimately is about, which is how do I help you, Callum, or you on the operations team or whomever you are, make better, faster decisions at the moment that you need to make them.
Interesting. Okay. And I guess in terms of other vendors, then I mean, in our space, we're seeing a number of new roles coming up in like strategic alliances and partnership type of job functions, and I think that's a big sign of our industry consolidating in some ways. So, would you ever go out to another data provider or someone and say, hey, look, let's plug in together? So you're effectively selling to the vendors as well as to other ship owners or charterers?
100%. And that's one of the other value propositions about Orbit is around data and systems. So let me talk about data at first. When you log into Orbit, there's a lot of information there. It's elegantly laid out in beautiful dashboards. But behind the scenes, we've got several different data feeds coming in there. And we try to curate our data feeds and work with the best data possible. So we work, for instance, with Lloyd's List Intelligence on vessel particulars and company information. We're also curating 3 different AIS feeds. We've got ports, berths, anchorages, and terminals data. We've got feeds around EU ETS pricing. We've got map layers, we've got weather layers. So we have a number of different companies that we work with, sometimes in partnership, but sometimes just, we're purchasing the data to light up Orbit. So when you log in, there's a tremendous amount of information. Now, around systems and this vision of collaboration that you're pointing out and partnership, that's been our vision from the very beginning. Because from some of us we have a great mix of software people and maritime people, and from a software point of view, you never want to invest in a system on your own if you don't have to, because that's the costliest, the riskiest, and it takes the most time. So my point about integration is really important, because I can go to a customer and say, oh, you have, say, VES and IMOS as your VMS, or Q88 as your VMS. Great. We've got an integration with them, so we can pull that data in there. And we work with those different solutions providers. Sometimes they're partnerships, sometimes they're just agreements, sometimes it's just on a case-by-case basis. But more and more, those companies are recognizing that in order to deliver solutions to the end customer, they need to collaborate with others, because they don't want to make the same major decision about let's build something new. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But it's much faster for us to go to our customers and say, oh, who do you want us to integrate with?
Yeah.
And we may have those already, but we'll integrate with anyone on behalf of the customer. So that thing that you're talking about, I'm not surprised that you're seeing, these roles popping up around partnerships and strategic alliances, because that's where the industry needs to go. Even in an era of consolidation, there's going to be multiple solutions, there's going to be multiple platforms, and that will shake out. But it's not like one company is going to buy all of us, right? That's just impractical. It doesn't help the customer.
Although there's been a few big moves, the last couple of years, obviously Kepler and Besson and a few other names and things. So, what's your view of the mergers and acquisitions that's been going on in recent years in our space?
It's natural. I used to be in the digital marketing space for advertising. And same kind of thing, where you see solutions providers crop up everywhere. And then you recognize that individual companies that are providing maybe a small part of a company's solution, they just can't exist for that long. You just don't have the scale or the number of customers to provide a revenue stream for making a particular function. So the only way that company survives is they can be bought up or attached to some bigger company. And in the digital advertising world, they were talking about $300 billion worth of digital marketing revenue that they were attracted to. So we look at the maritime space and say, wow, it's really crowded. There's, maybe 800, 1,000 companies in the maritime tech space. There's tens of thousands in the digital marketing space. So I've come to it from that point of view, which is like, it just has to happen. And for a number of reasons, from economic reasons, right? These companies if you provide a single part of a workflow, there's just not enough revenue for you. So that's a commercial reason. A technology reason is important as well. If you're building technologies in different codes or different ages, those workflows don't work, and they don't help your customers. And that's the last piece, which is really important, is that customers are just demanding that they want simplicity or more simple solutions. So, this kind of consolidation is happening for lots of those reasons. But in the end, it's what's right for the customers and to help them do what they need to do.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Awesome. All right. Okay. So let's have a little look. Obviously, marketing we're going to focus on a little bit more. So if you could. You did talk about earlier, obviously, how you collaborate with other departments where you are currently. But let's say for scaling a SaaS company, can you perhaps give us an overview of what a typical marketing team might look like? And then as perhaps you go through certain scaling or seed funding rounds, or as you build up more products, how might that evolve in time, do you think?
Did you say marketing team?
Yeah, marketing team and kind of like maybe you might hire additional people or that type of thing.
Sure. There's some basics that you've got to get done in marketing, and there's kind of customer-facing activities, and then there's internal activities, which is a good way to think about it. The internal activities are they're maybe easier to describe, which is that your platforms. What are you using to collect data? You're using internally to collect data, manage your customers, and then to build your digital footprint on. So for us, we use HubSpot, which
Yeah.
is our CRM, and it's our website. And so if you think about those things, well, there's a couple of different types of skill sets that you would need to build a marketing department. So you need and when I say someone, that could be an external agency, but someone needs to get it done. So whether I'm hiring someone or working with an agency is, basically a case by case basis. We use agencies in some cases, and we've got a team in others. But we need to be able to build that platform. So manage that platform. Someone who's really good with tools and technology, understands how to manipulate data and spreadsheets and pull things into a system that can then be used by our sales team, by our executive team, and by ourselves to really understand who our customers are. So that's a skill set. That's like a marketing operations role, which sometimes you'll hear about. You need some maybe a business operations or something like that. Then there's the customer facing activities that happen on top of that platform. And I'll just start there, that's about your digital footprint. That's about the content you create. That's about where you distribute it. So you've got to fill up the tools with the content. Where are you publishing? Your website, your blog, LinkedIn, X, different channels, email, for instance. That all needs a different set of skills to be able to understand how to create content and distribute it. People can have multiple skills, but that's a kind of a different mindset and skill set that you might need. Like I was trained a long time ago as a writer before I went back to business school and got those skills. So you need to have a different set of skills to do either of those things. Yeah. Then there's creative people, right? You got to build your brand. So, look and feel, colors, what's your brand identity? What does your logos look like? That's, again, another set of skills that you have. And so those are probably the basics that you need around, building the platform to be able to communicate with people, having some skills to be able to create content, and then be able to package it in a way that's pleasing and also represents what your brand is supposed to be. So those are some key functions that you have to start with. And before I go on, let me pause to see if that gives you any reason for questions or to delve in deeper.
No, I think that's ideal, really, to get the sort of the base settings of different team members you might need, or even one of, as you say, we do find typically that it's a certain individual for each of those types of roles. Like a digital marketing manager, for example, has a very different kind of skill set, perhaps, than a branding manager or a content manager, as you say. So it makes perfect sense to get those all aligned. Please carry on.
Yeah, and there's more to it as well. And one of the things that I was thinking about, since you asked me to be interviewed on this, I was thinking about what some of the messages I might want to communicate to your audience might be. And one of them is to maybe help demystify what marketing is to a certain extent. Now, I'm not going to go into like a year long of a MBA discussion about marketing, okay. But often people think of marketing as it's just advertising, right? And sometimes they think of marketing and they almost make this hand motion like, yeah, the marketing guys will figure that out, right? Like that, it's something that happens after the fact, like it's a luxury, right? Yeah, the marketing will figure that out. For me, marketing is also, and most importantly, about listening. Okay. It's most importantly about trying to understand your role as a company in the marketplace. And the only way you can do that is to listen to the marketplace and listen to your customers and prospects. And if you're not listening, you're never going to be able to get what I've learned over the course of the last several years is you have to get to what's known as a product market fit. Okay. If I just have a product and I want to scream to the world, you can do that. That's easy. And if you have a product, right, that doesn't fit the market, that's great. And if you're not listening to what the market needs, you're just going to be speaking into the void. And so what's important from a marketing standpoint is to really understand what you need to do to get that product market fit. Otherwise, it's just advertising. It's just a bunch of marketing language and things like that. So I think marketing is much more than just communicating out to the market. It's taking information in, because ultimately that product market fit is a representation of the fact that you understand who your customers are, what their challenges are, and you're able to solve them, not just with messaging and blog posts, but your actual service itself. That's part of marketing as well. I don't want to go to market and try to sell something that doesn't work or doesn't meet the market's needs. That's one of the reasons why this Orbit opportunity was so exciting to me, because we took on this platform which already was functioning. So I don't have to make things up about what the platform does. I just talk about it. So I think that's an important part of what marketing is. And a lot of what we do is talking to customers. There's a lot of listening that we do, a lot of reaching out to our partners. And that's where we get my marketing team, which is Mike Pignataro and a guy named Oscar Haraldson. Right? We work very closely with our sales team, very closely with our sales team. We produce materials for them, presentations and product sheets, and they go out into the market and talk to customers, and they come back and say, slide 1 was really effective, but slides 2 and 3 weren't that good. Let's tweak them to make sure that they're saying this. And over the course of time, that kind of back and forth gets you to things that are and materials that are much more relevant and compelling to your audience. So again, if I'm just cranking out stuff that can be thrown on a website or in an email, I'm not going to be very effective, because ultimately, as I mentioned at the top, our job is to make our sales team more efficient. And that's one of the areas where we spend a lot of time and focus is, how did that meeting go? Right? What did they say? What was resonating? Do we need to change our messaging? What do we need to tweak for the next time? So that maybe gives you a sense. And look, and we're a small company, so I'm able as a chief marketing officer, which is seems like a very important title, to work with our salespeople and directly, and to get that kind of feedback.
Yeah, no, that's extremely helpful. And before I forget to mention it, I think the other big part of marketing is the employer branding. And from our perspective, obviously the recruitment side, even little things like going on a company's website for prospective people to join the business, or even just people interested in maybe, I don't know, applying one day to a role or whatever, is so important. And any communication candidates or people have with a company is a form of marketing, really. Like
100%.
Even that initial interview process, or the way that a team member describes the business is really vital, and it's really exciting. So some of the companies that we work with, we help them create kind of like little candidate packs, that type of thing. So we can send to client. That's more for our executive search type of thing.
Sure.
But it really does give them a great idea of a little piece of the culture and that type of thing.
Well, I think what you've identified is one of the enduring sort of lessons of marketing, which is that your brand is this. I don't think I made this up. I think I learned this, but is the sum total of every interaction you have with the marketplace. So to your point, how an employee, talks about your company to
Mm.
someone at the pub. Like that's a touch point where someone's going to walk away when you're not around and think, OrbitMI is this or that.
Yeah.
Every time we talk to a candidate, every time we present at a conference, but every time someone comes to our website, every time someone looks at an email, especially those areas where we don't have a human being talking to them and
Yeah.
asking questions, we have to be very cognizant of that, such that we don't lose at least our part of it. We don't want to lose control of what we want to say to the marketplace inadvertently. And so, as you're pointing out, someone right now, and maybe someone during this interview when it airs next week, is going to go to the Orbit website, and they're going to get an appreciation of who we are and how we think. So we spend a lot of time, particularly on the homepage and the blog, for instance, on hoping to tell our story in a way that someone gets a good impression about who we are.
Yeah, I used to work at Clarkson's for a few years, and I was in their HR team on recruitment. And my old boss, John Beckwith, who a lot of admiration for, he was an awesome manager. We used to interview people, and he'd kind of go one of his little, tactics was to sort of list a couple of companies and say, right, what's the first word you think of when when we say Chelsea Football Club or W.H. Smith, that type of thing. So it would be great to have an idea of how might people perceive your business, like in generally. And that's what I try and do with our business, and try and think, hopefully it's like professional or trustworthy, that type of thing. So it's really important to get that brand out there.
And that's why something like this top 10 recognition is so important, because you get that feedback back from the marketplace, and when they write even a couple paragraphs about your CEO and your company, and it's actually what you want them to think about your company. You can rest a little bit easier that we're doing something right. Look, and we're always looking to improve, but that's the kind of feedback that you want to get as a CEO and as a CMO, and just as a marketing team. We take great pride in this, that we've done this for 3 years in a row, because the only way, as I mentioned, for you to understand where your company fits in the marketplace and in people's minds is to listen. And so this is a form of, okay, we've listened and here's the result.
Yeah. And that's a good example of like an external indicator. But do you have any specific internal tools you use to try and monitor? I don't know. I know it's hard to do in marketing, like ROI of certain marketing projects, or any platform software you use, or any I don't know, processes you have to monitor, I guess, success of projects.
Well, to a certain extent, every pilot we bring on, every closed deal are the most important metrics for us, for sure. And obviously there's a way to measure that, which is, did we win the deal or not? But along the way, there are a number of things that we measure, certain diagnostic measures around, the performance of our website, our emails, LinkedIn followers, all of that stuff. But what we try to do, Callum, is to monitor our deal flow, so to speak, and try to see, as customers are moving from initial engagement to the pilot stage, to onboarding, and then to being customers, what are the pieces of content? What are the engagements like? So we can correlate what we're doing to the success of a closed deal and a successful client engagement. Sometimes our deals, we can close a deal in a couple of weeks, theoretically, but they usually take a little bit longer. And so it's in a B2B environment, it's a little bit harder to directly attribute this thing we did in marketing yielded these particular results, and therefore, if I spent X on it, I can show what the ROI is. Also, because we're a small company, we have to be very conscious of our marketing spend, which is why we try to be innovative and pretty efficient about what we do. But we're always conscious of the efficiency of what we're doing, and so we're looking at how things are, how our customers are reacting. Basic stuff around engagement, downloads, and things like that. But in the end, we're going to look to our sales team and our customers to tell us, and we'll ask, what were the things that brought your attention to us? Was there any pieces of content that you liked that were effective? And they'll tell us, and it gives us a good sense of that. But as I mentioned, if I'm waiting to the end to ask those questions, I may be way off, which is why we keep so close to our sales team who give us that feedback almost in real time.
That's really important. Good tips that I can take on for our projects. I mean, we use different like digital marketing tools, and you have all these different like you set certain sales cadences and things for like outreaches and stuff. So things like that are really helpful that we monitor. No, I guess, I mean, going forward now, and we'll wrap up fairly shortly, but in terms of like the trends for marketing in the SaaS space, is there any kind of like real innovations you see happening, or maybe that are already happening that are sort of having a big impact?
I mean, marketing is always changing. I'm going to say something which is not going to be profound at all, but the impact of AI, artificial intelligence, on marketing is profound. There are a lot of things that you can do with AI when it comes to all of the areas that I described. So when it comes to the platform and your CRM, HubSpot has got some great artificial intelligence tools which can help us be more efficient on how we use that. Now, it's not like I got 50 people. I'm more efficient, and I can, offload a few employees. That's not the kind of efficiency I'm talking about. But how can we do things more quickly with fewer errors? So AI is helping us that way. When it comes to content creation, right? We never have to worry about a blank page ever again, right? I can get a starter draft from ChatGPT or Claude or whichever one else. I can put some prompts in there and get back some content, which then sets me off or us off and say, okay, that's a really good idea, or that's not a good idea. That is really helpful in terms of ideation and just accelerating your content creation process. And we're finding that one of the key skills for marketers these days, and including us, obviously, is prompting. Like, how do you ask the right questions and get what you want out of it? And also understand that you have to audit those and interrogate those, because sometimes they get them wrong. But that's among the most the most important innovations. And the other is the impact that AI is having on search, right? Because now search terms, the way Google is trying to, it's interesting because it remains to be seen what this does to their core business. But you've seen Google is trying to give you answers right up front. They're not just trying to give you links; they're trying to solve your problem right there. So that's, if it's accurate, that's added value. And for the end user, it's it's much more effective, because now I don't need to click out to different parts of the internet to get my answer. Well, if your business relies on getting leads from a search engine like Google, and now customers don't click away, what is that going to do to your business? And what does that do to your metrics? Because you're used to saying there's a search term, a click-through, landing page, they take a certain action, and you can track that all the way through. And I'm sure these are the kinds of things that you do. But what is it if a customer goes to search, gets their answer, and then 2 days later or a week later shows up at your website, right? That's great, but what was the cause? How do you attribute what you're doing on search, if that's where you're spending your money, to the results? So there's a lot of things happening, and in the end, how are customers changing their behavior in this world? Are they, because shipping as an industry hasn't really been a extensive user of search to get information. They generally used other channels. Well, now is that the case? Are people now going back to search to get their answers? This remains to be seen. So these are the kinds of things that we're keeping an eye out for, not just on the infrastructure piece and the content piece, but also how is the industry using and being affected by artificial intelligence? Because if I need to change my tactics to reach them where they are, or to tell stories in a different way or in a different channel, that's what I have to do.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, David. That gives a really good overview. And I think exactly the same. I mean, we use AI and ChatGPT, that type of thing, every day in our business, and really interesting ways of making prompts to how we might approach a certain prospect or rewrite something differently and things. So it's really interesting on the recruitment side as well.
Right. Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't got to the point of helping us like with a search. I mean, if you go into LinkedIn anyway and you just type in a job title and say, find me these other candidates, that they've been coming up for years. So I don't think it's helped hugely in that front, but certainly in many other ways, as you said, just on the content. And my grammar sometimes is terrible in writing. So just to sort of tidy up paragraphs is really powerful.
I thought you were talking about your grandmother. You said my grandma isn't going to write. You meant grammar. Yeah. Okay, I got it.
Yeah, exactly. I use that.
My grandma doesn't write very well either. But.
Yeah, so I use that every day. Like, please tidy up is probably my most popular phrase.
Yes.
But no, it's great. Well, no, thank you so much, David. And just before we go, I always like to ask people, a little bit more about them in like outside of work and things. So I know obviously you mentioned you got a family now and things, but what type of things do you like to get up to outside of the office?
Well, I've got two kids who are in college, so we're proverbial empty nesters, but we're looking forward to having them back for the holidays. I spend a lot of time outside. I do a lot of hiking. I do a lot of outdoor activities. My main passion is music, so I'm in a band and I perform, great. And so I always have different tools right next to me, so I'll grab a 5 minutes here and there and practice. So music is probably the biggest thing, but we have a nice fireplace. We spend a lot of time reading and looking at the fire. We're not very exciting people, Callum. I'll just let you know.
No, it's very
cool. You know.
Good. No, really interesting to hear. And I used to be in a band years ago, not very good ones, but like all the way through my teens and 20s, and I was on the drums, but I still have guitars next to me as well. So you don't lose it, I don't think.
Well, you'll appreciate this. What I've always said to young people. Over the course of my career, I've done some counseling and help with young people in terms of making decisions and careers in colleges. And I said, if you want job security and you're not going to be a computer programmer, learn to be a drummer.
Oh, really?
Because everyone needs a drummer and a bass player. Yeah,
so true.
You go to a group of musicians and you say, how many? 100 people. You say, how many people play guitar? There's going to be 98 people who play guitar, and they all need a bass player and a drum player. And that's actually it's kind of a funny thing to say, but I had a friend in business school who said, he was able to survive various parts of his career when he was out of work because he always was able to pick up gigs drumming. So you'd never be out of work if you can play the drums. Yeah,
that's very true.
Just saying.
Yeah. I wasn't that good to fall back on it, unfortunately, but who knows? Never too old to learn again. Awesome, David. Well, thank you so much. And obviously, if anyone wants to reach out to you and learn more about OrbitMI and maybe just talk to yourself, what's the best way for them to do so?
My email, david.levy@orbitmi.com.
Okay, awesome.
Be happy,
David. Great. Well, thank you for coming on the show, and obviously thank you for everyone else for tuning in. I hope you found this episode exciting and interesting like we did.
Great.
Cool.
Thank you. Appreciate it.